August 1955, 0300 hours, Groom Lake, Nevada. The desert wind howled, carrying sand like whispers. Below a vast, indifferent sky, a strip of ancient lake bed, flat and forgotten, shimmered under floodlights. This was a place that did not exist on any map, in any official record. It was a secret, hidden even from the American public it served. And on that clandestine runway, something extraordinary was happening. A plane, unlike anything the world had ever seen, was being readied for flight. It was long, it was sleek, its wings were impossibly thin, like those of a giant glider. Its skin was the color of a moonless night. It was designed to fly at altitudes no other aircraft could reach, to see what no other nation could hide, to be a ghost in a sky full of enemies. This was the birth of a legend, the beginning of a trillion-dollar war machine, a secret so profound America would lie to the world to keep it hidden. This is the story of the black box that soared above the Iron Curtain and the audacious gamble to win a war that could never be fought. The year is 1955. The world holds its breath. The Cold War is a silent, terrifying struggle. On one side, the United States and its allies, the free world. On the other, the Soviet Union and its satellites, the Iron Curtain. It is a battle of ideologies, capitalism versus communism. But beneath the politics, a far more dangerous game is being played, a game of survival. Both superpowers are building weapons of unimaginable destruction: nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, and the delivery systems, intercontinental ballistic missiles, long-range bombers. The fear is palpable, the fear of a surprise attack, a Pearl Harbor but with atomic fire. Who has more bombs? Who has better bombers? Who is preparing to strike first? President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a former five-star general, knows the stakes. He needs answers. He needs intelligence. But the Soviet Union is a vast, closed empire, a black hole of information. Its borders are impenetrable. Its secrets are locked away. Eisenhower needs to know what's inside the Soviet black box, and he needs a way to look. Traditional espionage is slow, risky, incomplete. Spies on the ground can only gather fragments. Earlier attempts at aerial reconnaissance using modified bombers like the B-47 to fly near Soviet borders were dangerous. They were easily detected, and they could be shot down. The Soviet Union had some of the world's most advanced interceptor jets and a formidable radar network. The problem was simple physics. Most jets could only fly up to 45,000 feet. Soviet interceptors could reach 50,000 feet, and their surface-to-air missiles were improving rapidly. To fly over the Soviet Union was a death wish, unless, in the secretive world of military aviation, one name stands above all: Clarence Kelly Johnson. He runs Lockheed's Advanced Development Projects Division, better known as the Skunk Works. The Skunk Works is not a typical aerospace company. It's a black operation within a black operation. It's where impossible planes are born. And in 1954, Kelly Johnson received the impossible mission from the CIA: build a plane that can fly 70,000 feet, 13 miles high. A plane that can fly above all Soviet aircraft, above all known missiles. A plane that can take high-resolution photos of the Soviet heartland and survive. It was called Project Aquatone. The plane itself would become known by a simple, unassuming designation: the U-2. The engineering challenges were staggering. To fly at 70,000 feet, the air is incredibly thin, almost a vacuum. The plane needed massive wings, like a glider, to generate lift, but it also needed to be a jet. And it needed to be incredibly light, yet strong enough to withstand the immense stresses of high altitude. Kelly Johnson's team worked at a feverish pace. They built it out of lightweight aluminum alloys, pushing the limits of material science. They gave it a single, powerful jet engine and wings so long, so thin that they sagged to the ground on takeoff and landing, requiring detachable pogo landing gear that fell away after launch. It was a delicate beast, beautiful and terrifying. A glider with a jet engine, a spy plane designed for a single purpose: invisibility by altitude. The secrecy around the U-2 was paramount. Pilots, carefully selected from the U.S. Air Force, were told they were volunteering for a dangerous secret weather research program. They were flown to Groom Lake, Area 51, blindfolded, never to speak of what they saw or did. The base itself was crude, Spartan, hidden. A few temporary buildings, a dusty runway, and the blazing Nevada sun. The training was intense. The U-2 was notoriously difficult to fly. Its stall speed and maximum speed at altitude were incredibly close, creating a narrow coffin corner where the slightest error could tear the plane apart. The pilots had to wear bulky pressure suits, effectively spacesuits, because at 70,000 feet, without it, their blood would boil. They were pioneers, flying higher than anyone in history, into an unknown realm. They were America's unseen eyes. July 4th, 1956. The first mission. A single U-2, piloted by Carl Overstreet, soared silently over the Soviet Union. It flew directly over Moscow, then Leningrad. For 6 hours it photographed critical military installations, airfields, missile bases, nuclear facilities. These photos were astounding, unprecedented. They revealed the truth. The Soviet Union was not building as many bombers as the US feared. The bomber gap was a myth. This was intelligence of the highest order. It gave Eisenhower invaluable insight. It allowed him to make rational decisions, not fearful ones. The U-2 was a triumph. But the Soviets knew something was flying over them. Their radar picked up an unknown object, moving too high, too fast for any known aircraft. Their interceptor scrambled, clawing at the sky, but always falling short. They called it the ghost of the sky. The game was on. America had a secret weapon, and the Soviets were desperate to find it. The U-2 was a paradox, a fragile glider capable of defying gravity for hours. At its operational altitude of over 70,000 feet, the air was a deep, dark violet. The earth below was a vast, curving canvas. The sun was a searing, unblinking eye, illuminating secrets hidden to the ground. For the pilots, it was an experience akin to spaceflight, isolated, silent, a terrifying beauty. Their pressure suits were their life support, transforming them into silent alien figures in a cramped cockpit. Every breath was artificial, every instrument a lifeline. The dangers were immense. A single engine flameout at that altitude could mean an hour-long silent glide back to friendly territory, or a freezing death. A minor structural fault could lead to catastrophic wing failure. The line between life and death was as thin as the air itself. And yet mission after mission, the U-2 flew. It revealed the Soviet Union's most closely guarded secrets. The photos flowed into the CIA's analysis centers, stunningly clear images from 13 miles up. They confirmed the bomber gap was indeed fiction. They revealed the true scope of Soviet nuclear capabilities, and their limitations. They pinpointed missile test sites, submarine pens, and nascent intercontinental ballistic missile programs. This was information that fundamentally reshaped the Cold War. It removed the fog of fear. It allowed the U.S. to understand its enemy, not guess at it. It was effectively a form of peace through surveillance. Knowing the truth prevented overreactions, prevented panic. But the very success of the U-2 was breeding a dangerous complacency within the CIA. The Soviets couldn't touch them, or so it seemed. The Soviets were not idle. They were furious.
Khrushchev, the Soviet premier, publicly fumed about the spy planes. He ordered his scientists and engineers to redouble their efforts. They developed new, more powerful radar systems, and they poured vast resources into a new generation of surface-to-air missiles, the S-75 Divina, known to NATO as the SA-2 Guideline. This new missile was a game-changer. It could reach altitudes far beyond its predecessors. It was designed specifically to kill the U-2. The CIA was aware of these developments. They tracked the SA-2's progress, but they maintained a dangerous faith in the U-2's invulnerability. There was always a feeling that the plane was just out of reach, a few thousand feet too high. They pushed their luck. Among the elite pilots of the U-2 program was Francis Gary Powers, a quiet man from Kentucky, a former Air Force pilot recruited for his skill and composure. He was a civilian employee of the CIA flying under deep cover. He understood the risks. He understood the secrecy. He had a young family, a wife, Barbara. Every mission was a secret farewell. On May 1, 1960, Powers was assigned Mission 415, a deep penetration flight from Pakistan across the Soviet heartland to Norway. His targets, missile test sites, and a crucial intercontinental ballistic missile facility near Sverdlovsk. It was a high-stakes mission, one of the most important yet. Powers took off into the pre-dawn darkness. He was flying, as always, alone. He was flying, as always, in the ghost of the sky. May 1, 1960, 05:36 a.m. Over Soviet airspace, Powers was at 70,500 feet. The air was thin. The visibility was perfect. His cameras clicked, recording thousands of feet of film. He was flying directly over the Soviet missile proving grounds. Below him, the Soviet air defense network was a hive of frantic activity. Hundreds of interceptor jets scrambled. They launched, they climbed, they pushed their engines to breaking point. One by one, they reached their maximum altitude, desperate, unable to get high enough. They stalled, they fell. But this time, it was different. The Soviets had something new waiting, the SA-2 Guideline missile. Over 14 SA-2 batteries, commanded by Colonel Mikhail Voronov, had been alerted. 08:53 a.m. Powers was over Sverdlovsk. He suddenly heard a dull thud, then a bright orange flash. It wasn't a direct hit, it was a proximity detonation. The SA-2 missile, a massive weapon, had exploded just below his U-2. The fragile glider was torn apart, the tail ripped off, the wings shattered. Powers was thrown violently about the cockpit. The cockpit was jammed, the parachute was tangled. He managed to eject barely. He descended slowly, helplessly, into the heart of the Soviet Union, into enemy hands. On the ground, near the village of Kosulino, the villagers saw him descend. He was a strange figure in a bulky pressure suit, an alien from the sky. He was quickly surrounded, disarmed, captured. He was alive. And with him, crucially, the Soviets recovered significant portions of the U-2 wreckage, the camera, the highly classified equipment, and a map showing his flight path directly over their most sensitive military sites. The black box of America's secret spy program had been violently ripped open, and the truth was about to detonate on the world stage. In Washington, D.C., President Eisenhower faced an immediate crisis. The Soviets announced they had shot down an American spy plane and captured its pilot. The CIA, confident that the U-2 was impossible to shoot down and that Powers, if captured, would have self-destructed his plane and committed suicide, issued a cover story. It was a weather research plane, they claimed, blown off course. Eisenhower, acting on this flawed intelligence, publicly backed the story. It was a lie, a brazen, desperate lie. And then Khrushchev played his hand. Khrushchev, holding up Powers' CIA ID card and photos of the wreckage, revealed the truth to the world. "We have the pilot," he declared, his voice dripping with triumph. "He is alive and well, and he confesses to being a spy." The world gasped. Eisenhower had been caught in a blatant lie. It was a monumental diplomatic humiliation for the United States. The planned Paris peace summit between Eisenhower and Khrushchev collapsed. The Cold War plunged into its deepest, most dangerous freeze yet. The black box of America's secret air war had been violently ripped open, and the truth was about to detonate on the world stage. Francis Gary Powers was tried in Moscow, a show trial for the world to see. He was convicted of espionage and sentenced to 10 years in prison. For 21 months, he languished in Soviet captivity, a pawn in a global game. Then on February 10, 1962, a dramatic prisoner exchange took place on the Glienicke Bridge in Berlin. Powers was traded for Soviet spy Colonel Rudolf Abel. He returned home a hero to some, a scapegoat to others. His story became a symbol of the U-2 incident, a stark reminder of the perils of the Cold War. The U-2 program, though exposed, did not die. Far from it. The CIA learned a brutal lesson: never lie. And they learned to adapt. The planes were modified, improved, equipped with electronic countermeasures. And they were still needed, desperately needed. October 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis. The world held its breath on the brink of nuclear war. And it was a U-2 that provided the undeniable photographic evidence of Soviet nuclear missiles being deployed in Cuba. These were the photos that gave President Kennedy the proof he needed to confront Khrushchev, leading to the crisis's resolution. The U-2, though exposed, had just saved the world. It continued to fly covert missions over Vietnam, China, and the Middle East, becoming a resilient, invaluable asset. Its black box, once compromised, had simply gotten stronger. But the need for ultimate invulnerability remained. The Soviets now had the SA-2. They would soon have better. America needed a new ghost, a faster, higher ghost, a direct answer to the U-2's vulnerability. Back at Kelly Johnson's Skunk Works, the lessons of the U-2 shootdown were being applied to a new, even more ambitious project. The target, a plane that could fly at Mach 3, 2,200 miles per hour, and at an altitude of 85,000 feet. A plane so fast, no missile could catch it. No fighter jet could even get close. It was a challenge that pushed the boundaries of every known science. Heat. Flying at Mach 3, the skin of the plane would reach 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Steel would melt. They needed titanium. Speed. The engines had to be revolutionary, switching from jet to ramjet at high speed. Stealth. The plane's shape had to minimize radar reflection. This was the birth of the SR-71 Blackbird. The true $1 trillion war machine, a phoenix rising from the ashes of the U-2 incident. The SR-71 was pure science fiction made real. It leaked fuel on the runway because its titanium panels expanded so much at Mach 3 that gaps were engineered in at rest. Its pilots wore full pressure suits just like astronauts. It held every single speed and altitude record for air-breathing aircraft. And in 32 years of service, not a single SR-71 was ever shot down. If a missile was fired at it, the pilots would simply accelerate and outrun it. Speed is life was their mantra. It was the ultimate expression of invulnerability, a direct evolution from the U-2, built to achieve the same mission but with absolute impunity. Its missions were just as vital. It monitored Soviet naval movements, Chinese nuclear tests, North Korean activity. It flew over nations that knew it was there but could do nothing to stop it. It gathered intelligence that prevented wars, shaped policy, and gave America an unmatched advantage. It was the U-2's successor, the ghost that could never be caught. The ultimate answer to the question, how do you gather secrets from a closed world? You build a machine so extraordinary it defies the very limits of what's possible. Today, Groom Lake, Nevada, Area 51, still maintains its mystique. It is still a classified operating location, still protected by an aura of secrecy and speculation. But the truth is far more extraordinary than any alien conspiracy.
It was the birthplace of America's invisible eyes. The U-2 continues to fly, remarkably, in updated variants, even today. It has served presidents from Eisenhower to Biden, continuously evolving, continuously adapting. Its initial design, once deemed too fragile, proved incredibly adaptable. Its early exposure taught a harsh but vital lesson in humility and strategic communication. The SR-71 Blackbird was retired in 1998, its mission absorbed by satellites and advanced drones. But its legacy is eternal, a testament to human ingenuity. The black box of America's secret air war cost an estimated $1 trillion over its lifetime when adjusting for inflation across both programs and their subsequent iterations, a staggering sum. But what did it buy? It bought knowledge. It bought deterrence. It bought peace. Without the U-2, America would have blindly overreacted to the perceived bomber gap. It would have spent billions more on unnecessary weapons. It might have stumbled into a nuclear war based on fear and misinformation. The $1 trillion war machine that America tried to hide was not built to fight. It was built to see, to prevent the unthinkable by understanding the unknowable. Go back to Groom Lake, Nevada, August 1955. The ghost was born in the desert, designed to be unseen, designed to be invincible. It was challenged. It was caught. It was exposed, but it never truly failed. It forced America to adapt, to innovate, to push beyond the known limits of flight and intelligence. And from that moment of vulnerability, an even more extraordinary machine was born. The U-2 and the SR-71, two planes, a single, unseen mission, to bring light into the darkest corners of the Cold War, to be the silent guardians, providing the vision that saved the world from blindness. They were the $1 trillion secret, and their impact, though hidden for decades, remains one of the most profound and vital chapters in human history. The legacy of America's $1 trillion secret continues to influence global intelligence today, but countless other secrets remain buried in the past. Help us fund the next investigation by hitting subscribe and joining the Black Box community. Give the video a like if you appreciate the deep dive, and share it with fellow history enthusiasts. Your support ensures the untold stories always see the light.